This podcast is brought to you by Spirits and Distilling for those who make and drink great spirits. Join our free email newsletter for technical and creative distilling stories in your inbox every week. Learn more at spiritsanddistilling.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Craft Spirits and Distilling podcast. I'm your host, Molly Troupe, and today with me is Troupe and Grasse of Tamworth Distilling. Though I am really shorting your list of involved projects quite significantly, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Before we do, G&D Chillers understands that each distillery's chilling requirements are unique. On every distillery project, G&D offers the front-end design and engineering your team needs at no cost to you. Sid Delaray from Filibuster Distillery says, from the design and engineering to installation and startup, G&D was easy to work with. We've had a great customer service since commissioning our chiller, and I'd highly recommend them for any distillery system. Reach out for a quote today at gdchillers.com. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being here today. I'm very excited to get to speak with you.
It's nice to be here.
We'll get started with just, the question I love to start with for most of these interviews is just how you got started in the spirits industry.
I got started in the spirits industry. We've been in business for 35 years. We started being a regular ad agency, and we had clients like MTV. But then I got RJ Reynolds Tobacco as a client. And I did Camel, Winston, Salem, American Spirit. And they paid us really well, but we were pariahs in the advertising industry because we were doing evil tobacco work. So I took my evil tobacco money and I put it into creating some brands. And I created two different brands. One was a film project called Bikini Bandits. And I made a feature film with Corey Feldman.
Wow.
And Corey Feldman, Dee Dee Ramone, Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys, and Maynard James Keenan from Tool.
Wow.
And it did really well. I got signed to United Talent Agency. It was going to be a big thing in Hollywood. Obviously, that didn't work out because the other project I started was a clothing brand called Sailor Jerry. And I bought the estate of Norman Sailor Jerry Collins from Ed Hardy and Mike Malone. I bought it for, I think, $10,000. And we started making t-shirts, Sailor Jerry t-shirts. In addition, so the only other clients, so we had RJ Reynolds Tobacco as a client, which paid us in like monopoly money. What I mean by that, it was just like, ridiculous. But then we also had Puma. Puma was the, we were the agency that re-engineered Puma and took it global. We had Puma when they were a $50 million brand, and we stopped working with them when they sold it to Kering, which is Gucci, for $7 billion. My other client that I had at that time was William Grant & Sons, and we were doing some ads for Glenfiddich. And they said, we need a gin and a rum in our portfolio. And I came back to them on the same day with Hendrick's Gin and Sailor Jerry Rum. Hendrick's I did as a work for hire, meaning, we created it, but they owned it. Sailor Jerry, I owned the IP because it was a clothing brand. I thought if I made it into a rum, I might sell more t-shirts. So, but once you know it, Sailor Jerry Rum became the fastest growing rum brand in the world. And we sold Sailor Jerry in 2008 to William Grant & Sons. And at that point, I picked up the phone, called RJ Reynolds and said, I think we're done. And not that they were great people and they treated us well and they paid us well. It was more that I didn't want to go to focus groups anymore. I didn't want to travel the country going to convenience stores with bulletproof glass to check out how the packs looked. I just was done with tobacco. So we said, let's just focus on the spirits industry. Because the other part of when I told you about Bikini Bandits, that almost made it. We had a big, massive film deal with Canal Plus in France. We were going to make Bikini Bandits Save the World with a full French cast. It was amazing. And then the whole damn thing fell apart. And I thought, what I really like about the spirits industry is you get to do the storytelling that you do in movies, but it's with a tangible product that lasts forever. And if you build a spirits brand and it actually starts working, it'll sell forever, right? So unlike a movie where you've basically got a week, and then if it's not a hit, it just disappears. If it's a hit, it'll make money forever, but that rarely happens. So anyway, we were like, let's just stay in the spirits business. So we took our Sailor Jerry money when we sold the brand, and we bought a farm in New Hampshire, and then we bought the general store in New Hampshire, then we bought the inn in New Hampshire, and we used the inside of the inn to make the distillery. And we just expanded at Tamworth. We bought another 105 acres, and on that we built our first massive barrel house. We have 4 more barrel houses planned, and we have a new 10,000 square foot distillery in the works. And that's how we got into the spirits business.
That is so very cool. And lots of follow-up questions, because I think in the first, it's an interesting thing that was actually just in my head today about, telling stories and then the juice, and you can take that in so many directions. You can have a great story and you can have very subpar juice, and the story still might sell it. In your opinion, like, what's the lead there? Do you think the story leads the spirit? Do you like to see the spirit leading the story?
Well, it's interesting because one of the reasons, I was a great marketing guy, but now I'm a great marketing guy and a great juice guy. And I absolutely think you need 4 things to make a spirits brand work. First thing is you need great liquid, differentiated liquid, something unique about it. You can't just put same, everyone makes the same damn thing. You can't do that. You have to have something different about your liquid. You have to have unique packaging, and then an incredible brand world for the brand to live in. That's best example in the entire world is what we've done with Hendrick's. And then the 4th ingredient is time. So you need enough runway to build it. And I would say, luckily, with William Grant & Sons, who we made both Sailor Jerry and Hendrick's with, as a family company, they always gave it the time to grow. But I think story is important, but man, if your juice sucks, it might lead you to, it's like leading a horse to water. You might drink it once, but you're not going to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got to, the brand, what's interesting too about the brand world, like I'll use Hendrick's as an example, you got to pack a lot of interesting stuff in there to keep the early adopters coming back again and again and again. We always use the example of The Simpsons, which sounds really weird, because The Simpsons never kowtowed to a mainstream audience. They stayed weird. They got more complex, more strange, and the mainstream audience found them. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot to learn with branding and stuff. If you think like Hendrick's was radical when it came out 25 years ago. And we kept the damn thing as weird as we could. And that's why it's a cult phenomenon. And I think, I know as a craft distiller, it's a very different business though, isn't it? Because you got to make the payroll. You got to sell enough to stay in business. So you got to have enough of a mainstream appeal that you have an audience and a big enough audience to buy it. But if you don't make something differentiated enough, you're never going to break out of the local ghetto. What I mean by local ghetto is, I think we're seeing this a lot with the craft breweries and distilleries at the moment, is if you can't break out of your local market, you're basically stuck in a very small circle of influence and sales. So, which is why, in Tamworth, we make a whole bunch of different stuff. We make 55 different products up there. Everything ranging from the weird stuff we do with the wild game, like Deer Slayer has venison in it. Eau de Musk is made from the anal gland of the beaver. Crab Trapper is made from invasive green crabs. We had Saison de Fray, which is a smoked trout brandy. Those things got all the press and attention. But we also make an amazing rye whiskey. It's called Chicoroa. Chicoroa is the mountain that you can see from the distillery. And Chicoroa is 100% Hazlitt rye. And Hazlitt rye only grows in Maine and Quebec. I mean, it's consistently one of the highest rated 100% rye in the country. And we have an exquisite gin program. And I love saying now, I'm an expert gin marketer with Hendrick's, but I'm also an expert craft distiller with the gin we make. And I always joke with Hendrick's that Leslie Gracie, who's the distiller at Hendrick's, I always say, when you want to taste real gin, come to Tamworth. And that never goes down well. But we make really good gin. I'm very proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think there's a big difference. And I think it's interesting because I think you can smell bullshit a mile away. And if it's funny that the whiskey brand Dunce that we came out with, I have a chapter in my book, Brand Mysticism, where I talk about people just taking MPG liquid, sticking it in a bottle with a fake story. And I actually think a lot of that's what's caused the pain right now with a lot of places, is there was too much of that going on. But we came out with a brand called Dunce, which is MPG liquid, but we basically are just very, very transparent and open about it, and we make fun of it.
I think that's interesting, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with sourcing juice. There is something wrong with not being transparent about that. And
Right.
that, I think I agree,
And overcharging for it too. I mean, just be what, don't charge me $70 for something that is just MPG liquid. I mean, that's, I think people smell the bullshit, and I think that's what's hurting overall sales with everyone right now, is there was just too much of that going on.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I think something also that's really interesting about your story and, the stories that you've been able to create through spirits is that you do have a marketing background. And there's a lot of people who get started in craft distilling who really just love spirits, and they decide they want to launch a brand. There's a lot of ways that you get started, but a lot of it comes just from an adoration of spirits. And then you kind of figure out as you go how to market and how to sell. Do you think that your background really kind of helped to elevate the start of Tamworth?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got the secret advantage that nobody else has. I mean, my team at Quaker City Mercantile, that's our parent company. I mean, we have a very good reputation in the spirits industry, and we've had a string of hits. And yeah, we do all the marketing for Tamworth Distilling, and it's just like unfair court advantage.
Yeah.
It's like we're like 7'5" giants playing a little league team, because
Mm-hmm.
our liquid is amazing, and the marketing is equally as amazing. And then we also have like a full social media. We just have a really good setup with it. We do have with different rates for different people. If you're a craft distiller and you need, I'd be happy to talk to you.
Well, I think it's fascinating because I got started in the spirits industry because I love spirits and I love the creation and all that. And in my own 15 years in the industry, I have had this journey of the importance of marketing, right? And when you're just starting in 2008, when a lot of craft distillers were just getting started, you're like, well, people, if I make it, they will come, right? It doesn't have to be pretty. As long as it's decent, people will come. And we're in such a competitive market now that is absolutely no longer true. And not only do you have to have great marketing, but you have to have great timing. I'm very curious on you guys have had not just a string of hits. I mean, you personally, brand building for others and whatnot, you've had hits. How is it that you can be consistently making hits? That seems like such a hard thing to do from a marketing standpoint.
I think we have that because we're good. We just know what we're doing. No, I mean, it's interesting because I encourage anyone listening to this to buy my book, Brand Mysticism, because I go into in depth about how we do it. I mean, I'm an avid historian. I read tons of books. That's all I do is read. I build my brand ideas from the books I read. And I create things that I like. And I assume there's enough people out there like me that will also like it. and I don't compromise on what I'm doing. But I know too, it's okay to take some chances. I think, I always think like with every craft distiller makes the same damn thing. And it might be a great bourbon, but you know what? There's like 7,000 bourbons on the market. So why would I pick yours over another? And I've got, Bullet or Dickel making great liquid for pennies on the dollar. Like, it's a very hard thing to compete in. So you've got to find, it's not just marketing. It's like all this stuff coming together at once. And if you have a great story with a different liquid, different kind of liquid, and then a brand world that's a beautiful overriding package, and you don't spend too much expanding your distillery at the wrong time, you'll succeed. It's funny, the best advice we ever got when we opened the distillery, which is 10 years ago this year, so Gallo's a client of ours. We created a brand, Lo-Fi Aperitifs, which we co-own with Gallo. And Ernest Gallo Jr., who's now the CEO, flew out to Tamworth and spent the weekend with us. And he said, I'm going to give you some advice. He said, every craft distiller opens and they make the mistake of going to too many markets and expanding too quickly. And the product just sits there and the distributors are disillusioned and the product gathers dust. He goes, own the state you're in and don't go further than that until you've absolutely nailed it. And that's what we did with Tamworth. So in New Hampshire, which I know is a small state, but it's a big state for spirits because if they're a control state, and New Hampshire makes all of its money on spirits. We are by far the biggest thing in New Hampshire. And we dominate the state. We've only recently started going into Boston, literally this last 6 months or so. And we have opened a bottling plant in Pennsylvania because we like control states, counterintuitive with that. But the bottling plant in PA is really we're just experimenting a little bit because we're not sure exactly how to tackle PA yet. Mm-hmm. But the idea would be to use the limited distilling license in Pennsylvania. It would give us access to the most impenetrable state in the union. And what we like about control states is there's a single buyer. And if you're a local distiller, they have to take you. And if you actually prove you can sell, then they happily take you. So that's what we like about that. But yeah, so I think, it's funny too, because I feel like most marketing agencies, I always say you can judge an agency by the products they make for themselves. Agencies sometimes dabble in making products and they 99% of the time fail because there's so many other things that go into making a product work. I always say, easy part is coming up with a great brand and great liquid. That's the easy part. Hard part is making it stick in the marketplace. That's the literal impossible part. And if you can figure that out, then you're golden.
Man. Yeah. Such a hard thing to figure out.
Well, yeah, but yet, we've done it again and again and again. And it's just wacky product, great name, whatever, like great. But until you get, like, it's funny because I've been watching Surfside explode. Holy shit. Mm-hmm. Kudos to those guys. I know them. They're from Philly as well. And it's just amazing to watch it when it happens. And we have a product, our first non-alcoholic spirit called the Pathfinder, which I am one of 3 partners in. That brand's exploding. Oregon's a good state for us for that. But we just sold 20% of that brand to Stoli Group. And we're expanding very rapidly. I think we have 8 full-time brand ambassadors on that now. We just opened up in the UK. So yeah, I don't know.
I just want to say, I see Pathfinder all over Portland.
Yeah.
And it's in like all the good bars where they have, pretty much any bar in Portland has a mocktail menu. So
You know how Pathfinder came about? Our client, we've worked on Guinness for 15 years. And our client from Guinness went to Johnny Walker, and then he left Diageo, and he called me and he said, I'm thinking about starting a non-alcoholic brand. And I had tried Seedlip, and I was like, oh my God, this is snake oil. This is $40. What is this? So I told Guy, I said, I'll do it, but I'm gonna purposely make it feel like snake oil.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought the whole category was kind of bullshit. But what we did, and I said, you know what? We're going to make a great non-alcoholic Amaro that just happens to not have alcohol in it. So the way I drink Pathfinder is I make a great alcoholic Manhattan or alcoholic Negroni with it. Like we always say, Pathfinder's like ketchup. It goes in everything.
Oh, yeah.
It goes in goes with coffee, goes with beer, and it makes a great beer cocktail. And then it's great with the non-alc stuff. We're starting to experiment cooking with it.
Oh,
yeah, Pathfinder's on it. That's an express train. That's the fastest I've seen something explode since Hendrix. It's amazing.
and I mean, again, the marketing on that is just great, and it's fun to watch it, a quality product explode like that, especially in times like these.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I think you just kind of glanced over some of the work you've done at Tamworth that I know our listeners would be very interested in, not just that it exists, but the why, the how, the why. And that is just some of the products at Tamworth that are very bold and, dare I say, untraditional. Let's just start with Eau de Musk. I'd love to hear how that came to be.
I think I'm trying to remember. I think what happened there was there was some reality, some TV show, some National Geographic show or something where these guys were going to come through, and they would only stop and include us in the show if we had something truly unique that they had never seen before. So there's a guy in Tamworth who's literally the beaver catcher for the whole state.
Oh man.
And his name's something like Jacques or Pierre. It's like funny. And my head distiller was just like, I think we could use castoreum in a bourbon because it's it's funny because you think it's going to taste like musk, but Eau de Musk actually tastes like vanilla because this is where being a historian, and our head distiller is a biochemist with a PhD. And being an historian and working with a PhD, you understand how you can work with a TTB, right?
Yeah.
Because castoreum is considered an ethnic, so it has an exemption at the GRAS list, the generally regarded as safe, because it's considered an ethnic flavoring. But castoreum is what people used to use for vanilla when they couldn't have the actual vanilla beans.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, that's really unusual and interesting. So if you know the stories, it's funny. We've been told by the TTB that we're the most annoying distillery in America because we are constantly trying to get stuff through with them and trying to get exemptions or override what the rules are. But that's how the Eau de Musk came about. And when it hit, it went viral. And then we've done a whole series with the wildlife stuff. And like the Deer Slayer, again, I said I was an avid reader. I read the James Fenimore Cooper book called The Deer Slayer, and I'm like, that's a great name. The Pathfinder was also a James Fenimore Cooper book. So I've read all of his books. I still have a few more names I can mine for that. But so Deer Slayer, I wanted to use deer blood, but the TTB said you can't use deer blood. And you can only use venison if it's farmed, because I guess there's some issues with wild deer. So we went to there's a local venison farm, and that's where we get the deer. We create like a weird sausage with the deer meat, and then so Deer Slayers of the series we call House of Tamworth, which is all the wild game. I think Deer Slayer is by far my favorite. It's very smoky. It almost tastes like a peaty scotch. It's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, there's been like some ideas that we haven't been able to figure out. Like I want to make do you know that cockroaches produce milk?
No.
Well,
Who's milking?
I'm gonna tell you about it.
Who's milking cockroaches?
Who's milking the cockroaches? They produce this like it's called cockroach milk, and it's like this emulsified whatever. But you can actually make I wanted to make a cream liqueur out of it.
You know, why not?
Because I think the ones we've noticed that have worked have somewhat of an ick factor to them. And it's funny because we did these. Yeah, somebody said they're gimmicky. I'm like, you think? Yeah, they were. But a funny thing happened on the way to the Coliseum, right? Food and Wine named as Innovator of the Year, and then did a whole article about how these weird things we're doing are the future of the bar cart. Esquire gave us Spirit of the Year for our Saison de Fray, which is the smoked trout brandy. And what we've done is we've applied molecular gastronomy to spirits. And we didn't even realize we were doing that when we started, but what we've done is we've really taken a culinary approach to creating very unique spirits. And I think that's why Food and Wine wrote that whole article about the future of the bar cart, and it's really unusual, and it makes you wonder, like, well, why hasn't anyone done this? And I think if we were just doing the wacky stuff or the strange stuff, it'd be one thing. But we also make, as I said, we have a great whiskey program up there that's very legit, and our gin program is super legit. We also make some very interesting cordials. We make a black trumpet mushroom blueberry liqueur, which we had to get the TTB to give us all kinds of exemptions on. We make a Sierra fig liqueur, mountain berry liqueur, and we make them. It's all whole fruit. We press the fruit the way you press grapes for wine. I mean, it's a very, very interesting process. What we do in Tamworth is like legit. It's not, we don't use any flavor houses. We don't do anything like that up there. It's all as legitimate as it could be. And I want it to be, that's the purpose of it. We started it as a test kitchen to see what's possible. And we haven't worried about scale. We're going at our own pace to expand as it makes sense, because it's funny, I'm also, my mom's from New Hampshire, which is why we built the place there. But my dad's a Pennsylvania Dutchman from Pennsylvania, and we're very shy about borrowing money. And the QCM, the marketing arm, is what's funded the distillery and funded its growth. And we grow when we're ready, as opposed to, I'm not racing to be the next massive brand with anything that we're doing up there at the moment.
Well, I think, it's interesting because, kind of like we touched upon a little earlier, like, why are brands in trouble right now? And I keep coming back to everyone was chasing in Casamigos money, right? Like they were grow, and you might just have $1 billion buyout. That is an interesting that, like, I mean, was Casamigos worth the $1 billion? I guess that's for Diageo to really decide. Yeah. But I mean, from what we're seeing, that hasn't happened to a lot of people who are potentially entering the industry just because of that encouragement, or maybe they had they were genuinely wanting to be in here. But like you guys.
Well, it's funny. It's funny, when we started, all the inquiries we got were from people wanting to start vodka brands like 15 years ago, right? Like everyone, because that was when Grey Goose sold for whatever it sold for. And everyone was chasing after that. And every time we took a photo, we're like, oh my God, these people, they don't know what they're doing. But now all those calls are tequila brands. People wanting to start tequila brands. And I feel like we always said in the ad business, By the time you hear about a RFP, a request, an account changing, by the time you heard about it, or you read about it in Adweek, it's too late. So I feel like, Casamigos deal was huge. I think some of these tequila brands will do well. But I think you can't chase after what's hot. You have to if you do your own, legitimately do your own thing, that's where the magic is. You know, when we did Sailor Jerry, we literally said our pitch to grants with it was, it's the punk rock Captain Morgan. For $1 more, you get 92 proof, and you don't look stupid drinking it. And no one else, and it blew up because no one else was doing it. But then soon after, like 2 years later, there were like 30 brands mimicking us out there. And I feel like I feel like things got very oversaturated currently. I think also, because of the social media and the iPhone, there's no longer a single market. It's very hard to launch things that get mass traction like there used to be. It's a very different game now. You have to work it very differently. But it's funny, I was saying that, we launched Pathfinder very old school. Like we literally launched it in Seattle, and we went to Life on Mars was our first bar, and we launched it in all the bars.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, we're going to mimic spirits. We're going to be a spirit. We're not going to be a non-alc brand. We're going to be a spirit, and we're going to launch in old school way, and we're going to own the on-premise. And then we're going to get the direct to consumer going. Then we're going to get, and then finally I think we launched the RTDs last year, but we had already been out with the 750 for, I think, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
D2C brands are all like spending all their money on non-alc brands are spending all their money on direct to consumer. And we didn't do that. We launched it the old school way. I think everything's different. So I don't know, what's killing the market right now. I think there's too many craft distillers making too many similar products. Right at the same time that the THC stuff is exploding. Right at the same time that the RTD stuff is exploding it's just like it's a perfect storm of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sorry for anyone who's caught up in it out there, because we're doing pretty good, but it's still down from what it was And I think the other thing that really killed it was COVID. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be like that forever, and I think people made some decisions to expand when it was when the sun was shining, and it happens. So hopefully, hold tight. Hopefully it'll pass. It's a storm that'll pass, and everyone will come out the other side stronger and wiser and tough as nails,
And hopefully with better marketing.
Better marketing. Yeah, but use the time, I don't know. It's weird too. It's like, you want to be weird, but not too weird. You have to think, how will I use this product? What does it mix with? What's the key syrup? It's all the basics. It's not rocket science, but yet it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like being a great chef. It's like mixing all the things together, and then you got this works. I got the liquid, I got the packaging, I got everything, it all working, and then you release it into the world and nothing happens. So you got to tweak it. People always ask, how did you make Sailor Jerry happen? And I always said, we tried everything, but we never spent any money on anything. If something worked, we did more of it. If something didn't, it didn't matter because we didn't spend any money on it. We never, ever spent money on ads, or even we had all these bands. We had a great music program. That's because I hired a guy to work in Sailor Jerry had a store,
Mm-hmm.
had a clothing store. And I hired a guy who was in a band, and he seemed to know every band, every fucking punk band in the world. And I said, he was talking about I forget what band, the Buzzcocks. And he goes, I'm like, you know them? And he goes, yeah. I said, could you get him to come to the store? And he goes, yeah, why not? So we would have all these bands stop by the store. They get their picture taken. We give them a bunch of clothes, and then we would load cases of Sailor Jerry rum into their van, and they would drive to the next city, and that's how the brand grew.
Mhm.
But we never paid a band a dime. It was just a organic growth thing. So, I mean, it's just like you got to just work it, figure it out, have a little fun, make some good liquid that's kind of weird.
I love that touch of weird, but not too weird, because I think there's like, as a creative, like liquid creative person, you get really stuck into like this, oh, I could make this, right? And sometimes you really do need to just stop and be like, why? Like, what or where? Where is this going? Like, oh, I can make this great thing, but maybe I'm the only one who thinks it great. Maybe it doesn't have a home in a bar. Like, is it really that great then? Or how can you improve upon it to make it usable, really?
Well, it's funny. Like Pathfinder is, we use the line Fernet without regret, because it tastes kind of like a Fernet, but it also tastes kind of like sarsaparilla.
Mm-hmm.
And like it goes in everything. So it's kind of like it's weird, but it's also familiar.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
I have a new spiced rum out called Siege of Wolves. And Siege of Wolves is a great story that happened in the town Tamworth, where we are. That the year without a summer was 1817, same year Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. Incredible volcano exploded in Indonesia. It wasn't Krakatoa, it was, I forget what the name of it was. But it snowed every month of the year in New Hampshire. They had 2 feet of snow in August that year.
Oh, God.
And on Great Hill Road, which is where both the distillery and my farm are, there was a terror where wolves attacked the town night after night. And the town people beat the wolves back. So we named the rum Siege of Wolves, because it's a great name, right? It's a great story. It's got a great local story, local connection. The rum, it tastes kind of like root beer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a spiced rum, but it's got like a root beer vibe. And then that becomes like, oh, that sounds delicious. I want to try that. So it's got to have that factor of like, oh, that sounds kind of good. I'm curious. Like our Crab Trapper, which is the whiskey made with invasive green crabs, it actually has cinnamon in it, and it tastes like a briny fireball.
Which actually sounds
weird.
Great, yeah.
Exactly. So the point is, like, you got to think about, it sounds like it tastes good, great packaging, weird ass story. The whole vibe's really, it's all this, it's a stew, and all the ingredients come together and taste good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key. And I feel like a lot of craft guys, and I get this because we make really excellent whiskey. We make it the right way. We make it authentically. But I think they get so uptight and caught up in it must be like this, or it's not real. I think if you had a little more fun, and you could still do your the most legitimate bourbon or most legitimate rye ever made, but you could have some stuff where you just, for shits and giggles, put some stuff out that gets people, what? What is that? Like, I'm curious. And then you get, it's called marketing. It's called just like, we call them creative grenades.
Mm-hmm.
You lob them out into the world, and it gets people excited, and it gets the press to write about you, and it gets people talking about you, gets people to visit you, and all those things.
And I think, too, from like an internal standpoint, it's probably like your head distiller's favorite thing to make these like crazy different. I'm hoping hopefully not the bane of his existence.
It is. I think now it is. I think when we started, it was like, you want me to do what? And some of them, like the Crab Trapper, man, when you're making Crab Trapper, it smells to high heaven.
I have also made I actually did a project for the American Craft Spirits Association's 10th anniversary in Portland, where we did a 10 distillery collaborative project to make a product called Krabby Snacks, which was a canned Bloody Mary with crab, this rotovap crab distillate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff stank.
Did it sell? Was it good?
It was not ever sold. It was just for like a giveaway. And it it was an interesting reaction we got at the convention with people who are like, really? And
yeah. But so I think have more fun.
Yeah.
I think the RTD thing is interesting too, because we're not we do it with Pathfinder, but we don't do it with Tamworth. Probably more because the equipment's cost prohibitive. And I just think the market, I think it's going to be a shakeout with that stuff. I just think it's oversaturated at the moment. So I know that's where all the growth is, but I think there's just a lot going on.
Well, and it's one of those things too, where everyone's noticing there's growth there. So how many people are?
Yes, everyone rushes in. Rushes in. And I think the THC stuff's interesting. We have several THC projects going on with with Quaker City, with the agency. The other company we own, or we're part owners in, is Narragansett Beer in Rhode Island. And I was just meeting with Mark Hellendrung, who runs Gansett. We had drinks on yesterday. We were talking about the Business Insider article that just came out that said make beer dumb again. And there was another article in the New York Times about how all the wacky flavors and colorful, crazy labels is what there's too much of in beer. And I think it's funny because on one hand, I'm telling you guys to have more fun. But on the other hand, I think that there's just a lot going on out there, isn't there? I mean, I think with beer, it's interesting because my personal flavor, my personal tastes, I've always just like, I drink Narragansett beer and I drink my own products and I don't make cocktails. I like to drink my products straight over ice. Owning a distillery ruined me for cocktails.
They're right.
Because I think cocktails are just like drinking a candy bar. Like, why are you doing that to this beautiful liquid? So it's interesting what's going on between beer and spirits. I think there's going to be a bigger shakeout with the beer industry than the spirits industry. But
well, yeah. And there's a point where innovation can go too far. I saw a clip this week about a beer. They opened a can and out they poured this artificially blue, chunky, thick beer that literally chunks. You could see chunks fall out of the can, and it's a milkshake style, but like it's like no milkshake beer I've ever seen. Like usually it's still beer. It's recognizable as beer. I'm like, I would think that this is like liquefied poison.
Yeah.
It looks like poison.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's funny too, because like we went to a bunch of graduation parties this year, me and my wife, and I went to the cooler and I'm like, there's no beer in here. And it was all just RTDs and seltzers. And I thought like the other guys my age at the party were like, yeah, there's no beer. I'm like, what the hell's going on in this world? I just think tastes have changed. I don't know if it's going to go back. I hope it does, but it's just kind of weird. It's just getting kind of weird out there.
It is. It is. And, part of me wonders if it's a gluten-free fad that eventually, we'll be, as a society, back on the gluten, and then, beer will come back. It's the same. We've seen this happen with demonization of butter and eggs, right? Like eventually more research comes out and we are actually realize it's not that bad for us. Maybe that'll be the same for gluten.
I've been exploring getting back into cigarette business. Just because I think cigarettes are cool. I don't smoke, but I'm just like, it's fucking cool. I want to do arcane stuff that nobody's doing anymore.
I mean, no one is doing cigarettes. That's for sure. Not in the same way.
That's why I want to do it. Just to be that guy who does cigarettes. And I actually at one point I wanted to call our agency ATF. But we couldn't get any firearm companies to hire us.
And that
I wrote to them. I remember I wrote to them, and one of them actually wrote back, "Don't ever contact us again."
Oh man. And I'm such an Oregonian because when I hear ATF, I actually thought of AMF, the cocktail, the high octane cocktail.
No. Oh, that's funny. No, I was talking about alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Yeah.
Well, the other acronym. And we've kind of talked and touched a lot on advice for baby distillers or baby brand owners that are, starting out in these interesting times. And if you have anything else that you wanted to add of here's something to either really do or really don't do.
Gee, I think that advice is just try everything but don't spend too much on any one thing and just see what works. I think if you put all your chips on one number and then it doesn't work, you're out of business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also think just make sure the liquid's good before you get out the door. It matters. It's funny. We had one of my few utter failures was a product called Spodey. Spodey was a fortified wine, and it came in an old milk bottle. When it had a big cork on it and a cap over top, and we could never get it to seal right. So sometimes, and when we told people to push the cork down, and that's how you drank it. I remember Mark from Gansett told me he got a bottle, he pushed the cork down, and it sprayed all over him, got all over his computer. And man, that product was an utter failure. And then the liquid wasn't very good either. So, I mean, we went out the door. It was a very cool concept, but we didn't do our homework, and the liquid tasted like ass. And the packaging was cool, but didn't function. So, and then failure coming out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like make sure your liquid's different. Make sure you've got, that what your signature serve is, what your go-to-market strategy is. Test it and make sure it works before you go big. So, I mean, it seems like common sense stuff to me, but I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's only common sense to me because we do it every day. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if it is common sense, but I hope it's becoming more and more.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we talked about earlier too is like, don't rush in where everyone else is. It's already crowded there. There's a million tequila brands in the world. Do something. Find that next thing that nobody's doing yet and turn it into the next thing. It's harder to do, but that's where the gold's going to be. Look, Mr. Black's a good example, right? Before him, there was no viable coffee liqueur that really did the job, and then that's why first in wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
First in wins. He also sold it into Diageo at the right time. Same with, Seedlip. I always, joke about the product, but man, that was smart, wasn't it?
It was good timing.
The first to do it.
Good timing.
But he literally created a new category, and then he knew how to scale it up. So I think all these people chasing after Surfside now, it's like, do something else.
Right.
I mean, it's funny though, because Sun Chaser, Boston Beer's product, it's kicking ass too. I saw they just sued Surfside suing InBev for ripping off their packaging. And I just don't know why. Like, why would InBev do that? It's crazy. But
you think with all the resources that they have, they would not do that.
Yeah. Why would you? But it's funny because it's funny too. Like, what is Surfside doing? Like, is it 9 million cases? But High Noon's still 24 million cases.
Oh wow!
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's massive. I also think people don't pay enough. It's funny. We launched a brand called Art in the Age after we sold Sailor Jerry. I bought into Narragansett Beer and became part of that. And then we started a brand called Art in the Age. The original Art in the Age spirits were root, snap, and rhubarb. And that brand took off, blew up really fast. And again, we got kind of scared with it because suddenly this was different than Grant's, because when we did Sailor Jerry, we owned the IP and we did all the marketing, but Grant's took care of all the manufacturing and the glass and all that stuff. But with Root, it's the first time we contract distilled it with Green Bar in LA.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to buy the glass and the toppers, and the warehousing, and it just started growing. We were like, holy shit, these bills are getting huge. And grants came in after 6 months and said, we'll buy the brand from you. And we're like, thank you. Right? So they bought it, but then they didn't know what to do with it. It was too different. It was a high proof liqueur, like Root. We should have just launched Root and stuck with Root. Root was literally I used Root as a flavor, part of the flavor profile for Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
Root was like a non-alcoholic root beer. Oh no, Root was a very alcoholic root beer. I also kind of used it for Siege of Wolves too. But all of a sudden we had 3 or 4 SKUs, but the issue was it was certified organic and we were contract distilling it. So the margins just evaporated. There was no margin. So we were selling all this product and it was all these demands to grow it nationally. And when Grants took it, they did take it nationally. And I remember the head of Grants pulled me aside and he goes, we lose money on every bottle because we're paying a vendor to make it and the ingredients are just too expensive. Mm. And the proof level made the taxes higher. So it was like, I didn't realize any of that.
Right.
But I just thought like cool brand, tastes good. So now as we start up, as we do stuff, we've run our COGS, we know what we're doing, we know how we can source it, we know how much you can scale it, right? And I think people don't know that enough. And the only way you know it is doing it a couple times till you figure it out. And hopefully it's not fatal from not knowing it, right? And when I say fatal, I mean to your career, not to anything else.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Art, but with cogs.
Yes. Yeah, but so it's funny because Art in the Age, Grants actually handed it back. I've worked with them for 30 years now. They gave the brand, the IP back to me, and we relaunched it, under different products. But it's interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that is a great place to stop. For more than 30 years, G&D Chillers has had the proven solution for distilleries. Visit them today at gdchillers.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, go to spiritsanddistilling.com and sign up for our free newsletter featuring new stories every week from some of the best writers and distillers in the distilling world. And Stephen, if people want to get to learn a little bit more about your work or projects that you have in the pipeline, how can they dig a little bit deeper?
Well, you can follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. And also go to our website, QuakerCityMercantile.com.
And there's 8 different books. 8 different books you have, right?
Yeah. We have a new one coming out in November that I wrote with my longtime collaborator. It's a cocktail book, but we also worked on it with Charlie Hall, who's the drummer in War on Drugs. So it's a low ABV cocktail book with playlists.
Oh,
so it's good. And Charlie, War on Drugs are good friends. So it's a good book. And I know Anthropology just is putting it in all their stores, so we're very excited.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another in-depth distilling conversation for you. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by Spirits and Distilling for those who love to make and drink great spirits. Join our free newsletter today at spiritsanddistilling.com for pragmatic, technical, and creative distilling stories in your inbox every week. Sign up now at spiritsanddistilling.com or click on the link in the show notes.